In 1979, on the battlefield between China and Vietnam, the People's Liberation Army (PLA) advanced with unstoppable force, overcoming significant sacrifices to achieve every strategic objective, ultimately reaching the gateway to the Vietnamese capital, Linh Xuân. On the early morning of February the 27th, our forces launched a general offensive. After a 10-minute artillery barrage, the 55th Army divided into 3 groups to attack Coma Mountain, Ba Huai Mountain, and Hill 417. A certain regiment's 3rd Company was given a temporary mission to capture the outer 152 hill within 3 hours, then join forces with the other 3 major units to form an encirclement. Despite the notable elevation of 152 meters, the terrain of Hill 152 was not particularly steep or treacherous, but the challenge was equally severe. The dense jungle cover and foggy weather made the area perplexing. Any slight carelessness could lead soldiers into misconceptions and enemy traps, greatly affecting visibility and directly threatening the smooth progress of the 3rd Company's advance. After initiating 3 consecutive charges, the Vietnamese army first resisted with fierce artillery fire, followed by the release of smoke grenades to create confusion. However, our troops were well prepared, having been equipped with gas masks in advance. Braving the difficulties, they fought courageously and eventually overcame the 2nd line of fortified trenches. After a brief rest and reorganization, the 3rd Company continued their assault on the 3rd line of trenches. It was at this moment that something strange happened. The Vietnamese army retreated without a fight, firing a few symbolic shots before withdrawing to higher ground. Seeing the enemy fleeing, the morale of the 3rd Company's soldiers soared as they rushed up the hill. However, just as they were about to reach the 3rd line of trenches, without hearing any gunfire, the front row of soldiers suddenly fell to the ground, unable to get up. Realizing something was wrong, the soldiers behind quickly took cover in the grass. The company commander, Zhang Shugui, ordered grenades to clear the target area. After ensuring there were no anomalies, he organized another charge. Yet, at the same spot, soldiers fell like under a spell. Zhang Shugui suspected the enemy had deployed a new type of chemical weapon and immediately ordered a retreat. Zhang Shugui then reported the situation to battalion headquarters, which sent experts to investigate. Surprisingly, the results showed no traces of poison gas, yet the medical soldiers who doubted this also fell at the same location. Zhang Shugui was anxious. Despite having guns and artillery, they couldn't advance through a piece of wilderness, fearing they might miss the strategic opportunity. It wasn't until the battalion commander personally brought 2 people over that the situation changed. One was a middle-aged man in traditional Chinese attire, leaning on a black cane with a gentle yet authoritative gaze, and the other was a frail youth, whose mere look sent shivers down Zhang Shugui's spine. Why did the Vietnamese army withdraw so mysteriously without firing a shot, causing PLA soldiers to fall in succession? Having ruled out biological or chemical weapons, what magic did the Vietnamese use? The sudden arrival of these 2 individuals seemed out of place in this era, standing out among the PLA soldiers. After listening to Zhang Shugui's account of the assault, the 2 exchanged a knowing glance and fell into deep thought. Finally, the middle-aged man broke the silence with a smile, saying, "I didn't expect to find kindred spirits in such a remote corner of Vietnam." Zhang Shugui was puzzled, but the battalion commander seemed to know something, showing great respect for the 2. The middle-aged man repeatedly warned, "No matter what happens or is seen, do not approach. If they don't return within half an hour, order a retreat." After receiving a salute from the battalion commander and an impatient look from the young man, The two finally moved forward. As the middle-aged man reached the spot where soldiers had previously fallen, the following PLA soldiers tensed up, expecting more falls, but nothing happened. The two paused briefly, checked on the fallen soldiers, and continued forward. Not long after, they disappeared from view. Initially, silence prevailed until nearly half an hour later when a scream of despair and terror echoed from the woods, sending chills down the soldiers' spines. The previously confident battalion commander now appeared tense. About 15 minutes later, the young man helped the middle-aged man back out. Their pace quickened as they approached the previous pause point. After nodding to the battalion commander, Zhang Shugui shouted rescue, gathering all soldiers. The young man suddenly stated coldly, "No need to save them, they're all dead." He then emphasized not to touch them and suggested burning them all, mentioning there were 2 more in the forest. When everyone rushed into the forest, they indeed found 2 bodies under a large tree. One was a scrawny figure with tattered clothes and pustules on his face, and next to him was a small snake about a meter long with a fiery red body, a red crown on its head and feet. This incident marked an end, with parts deliberately erased, leaving only endless speculation for future generations.